So I work with data from satellites. And what we can get from satellites is we can get this picture, you say, from space that allows us to look at green space, all of the country, actually all of the world, because the satellites take pictures. I think of it as like a flying digital camera that just takes pictures all the time and sends it back to Earth. So with remote sensing, you get the information about the environment, and you can have that going back in time. So we use that to make maps of all green space, so all areas with some sort of living vegetation within Denmark, so the entire country. And then we could match that up with the information we have in the health registers, because we know where people were living. So that gives us sort of a combined data set of knowing for the entire population, how green was it around their residence during childhood, and did they later in life develop a psychiatric disorder or some sort of health, mental health issue. Sort of the sum of the research is that we found a very consistent relationship between having more green space around your residence was sort of associated with a lower risk of developing psychiatric issues later in life. And that's good. Like it's say it's quantifiable amount. Like we could look at the exact amount of green space, put that into a interval from like high to low and everything in between, and sort of relate that. So it gives it's not just how, like, is it related, yes or no, but it's actually, you can see a sort of a linear relationship. So what we call a dose response relationship. It's not that green space explains 100% of your risk of getting a psychiatric disorder. Of course, there is a lot of other variables that we corrected for in our models, like the socioeconomic variables, for instance, and whether parents also had a psychiatric disorder. All of these things that are also associated with your risk of developing a psychiatric disorder. So I think sort of some lead-up questions from that would be to go in to see, what is it about green space? Like, what type do we need? Like, is there a difference in quality? What about people actually having access to the green space? Because just because it's there doesn't mean necessarily that you are able to use it. There is sort of a barrier when if the distance becomes too great. So the World Health Organization has some recommendations about distance, like a minimum distance requirement that people should have to green space in terms of actually being healthy. Because if I think the limit is set to about a 10-minute walking distance or something, because after that, people they don't really use it because it becomes too much of an effort. Sometimes we're not so good at doing the things that are actually good for us.